Hello and welcome to the very first devlog for our game project. We are a small French indie studio of just two people, Axel, who does the game's artwork, and myself, who does the coding and the game design. This is our first commercial project. Our game, Stack Order, is a narrative-driven boss rush roguelite deckbuilder. In this episode, I'll talk you through the process of taking the game from a simple paper and cardboard prototype to an early playable version of the game, and explain how the project evolved along the way. It all started with Axel, who designed this paper prototype himself. Inspired by various board games like Munchkin or Star Realms, his goal was to create a solo board game in which player would fight a boss with multiple attacks by playing one or more cards each turn. At the time, the boss's attacks were determined by rolling a die, after which the player had to play cards to counter or attack it. The prototype was inspired by games like Monster Hunter, in which players focus on the boss body parts one by one, improving the feeling of facing a massive enemy. Each attack felt menacing and unique and gave the boss a personality. Players had to defeat each of the boss attacks to finally be able to defeat him. As you can see, Axel had already designed a lot of cards with multiple effects, some more or less situational. This prototype had a solid foundation, cool art, and an interesting and enjoyable 1v1 card boss fight. However, there was a problem. The health point of the different bosses attack on the player, the counter played by the player, the numbers of cards to draw, and the scalability of the game were complicated to remember and manage in a board game. Aside from that, since we were both in our final years of art and design school, we needed to work on our diploma projects. And that's when Axel told me about his cardboard prototype and its issues. He said to me that he wanted to try making a video game out of it, to work on animations and illustration differently than it had before. Since I had been developing little games for a few years now, I felt ready to help him. I was excited about the project, and we started thinking about how to transform this board game into a fully fledged video game. At that time, we had about a month and a half to produce an early playable prototype. Shifting from a simple board card game to a video game involving multiple fights and characters also made us consider the game's lore and the story we wanted to tell. We came up with a few ideas about why the player would go from one battle to another. We initially considered portals that led to other dimensions, but it didn't felt quite right. After that, we started reworking the combat system. While Axel was explaining all the rules and subtleties of his prototypes to me, I was pointing out what could be improved or made more fun in a video game. I also noted all the variables and mechanics that were tedious to manage in a board game, and that we could easily implement now that they will be automated. We also took inspiration from card game mechanics and boss fights we liked in other games to improve our formula. After all this brainstorming and with our deadlines approaching, we started sketching things out. I was leaning more and more towards open source softwares for the project, as I was concerned about the direction in which my go-to engine was heading at the time. Therefore, I decided to use Godot 4. Having already used the engine for a game jam project and currently using it for my personal diploma project, I wanted to continue using and learning it. As I was still getting to grips with the engine and laying the groundwork for the card game mechanics, I started by following the Barry's Development Hell card game tutorial for Godot 4. This was really helpful and gave me a good understanding of how I would be able to build some of the systems for my game. While I was doing this, Axel started sketching little animations for the game. Initially, we considered creating a game from a top-down perspective, with the player entering rooms and facing the boss. We put together a first level with placeholders as well as the first sprite for the boss and the player. At the same time, I started developing the first systems for the card game. A game board with slots to stack your cards and a deck from which you could draw an array of predetermined cards, among other things. We were excited to see the different phases of the game come to life, but we weren't convinced by the overall appearance of the overworld and the characters yet. So we started again, abandoning the top-down perspective in favor of a side-scrolling overworld with a parallax effect to give depth to the environments and revamping the character design. Axel became increasingly confident in the artistic direction and animation workflow, and I almost finished the core mechanics of the card game. So, for Axel's diploma, we had to show this level. A simple side-scrolling level with multiple visual assets to tell a story through the environment. We also reworked the boards with slots for attacks, defense and special cards. And of course, one complete boss fight with his attacks, animations and art. As I mentioned, we spent a lot of time reworking the core mechanics of the game, adapting them for a video game format and creating something that felt both deep and intuitive to play. But in the end, what is the gameplay actually like? Stack Order is a deck building game in which you face powerful bosses that declares a random attack at the start of each turn. Once the boss has revealed its move, it's your turn to react. You draw a hand of cards and place them off top of one of your 3 slots. This allows you to prepare combos and powerful effects. Each turn, you can activate one of these stacks, triggering the effects of all the cards in it and thus ending your turn. After that, the boss executes his declared attack, and a new turn starts. Depending on the cards you draw, the stacks you have built up, and the boss's next move, you must decide which stack to activate and which one you want to continue building. Sometimes it's better to strike immediately with few cards in your stack, while at other times, patience leads to much stronger plays later on. Like in the original cardboard prototype, in order to defeat a boss, you have to reduce each of their attacks' health points to 0. For the prototype, we kept things simple with only 5 cards. These were a basic shield that grants armor when placed in defense slot, a sword that deals damage when placed in the attack slot, a sword shield that can be fit in both slots, and 2 special cards, the Return Flower, which lets you reflect the next boss attack, and the Star, which doubles the effects of every card in your attack stack. And even with just these few cards, the system showed the potential depth. Every turn becomes a puzzle where you try to outsmart the boss and makes the most of your cards. Also, it already felt satisfactory to know which card you had in your deck and plan your future turns by stacking your cards. So, what you've just seen is what we presented for Axel's diploma back in July, an initial playable version of Stack Order that incorporated all our previous work. In the next episode, we'll show you all the improvements we made to the gameplay, how it evolved and how we started paving the way toward our first playable alpha demo. By adding interesting card archetypes, more than just sword and shields, new zones to explore, characters and systems to help you improve your decks between bosses, bits of narrations, and maybe even a second boss. Thank you for watching this episode until the end. If you enjoyed our first devlog and would like to follow our progress as we continue to develop Stack Order, please subscribe and share your first impressions in the comments. We will also share some developments updates on our socials, which you can find in the description. Stay tuned for the next episode, thanks you for watching and see you soon, bye!